Today is the third day of May, 2023. I almost made a mistake I made yesterday. Welcome to my podcast. My name is Vaso Obaseki, and it's my pleasure to be here with you. Something just walked through my mind, and it was a nostalgic experience. I was stunned, and it just takes me back to a place where I used to be way back in 2007-ish, 2007, 8. So between late 2006, 7, and 8. Let's just say 2006 and 7, or the whole 3 years. And it was trust me, I just can't fathom how I wouldn't say lost that place as much as I did now. It was a very good place to be. So I saw a post about a friend posted on his status, and it talks about the mind, basically, and he talked about the mind being a battlefield, blah blah blah. And honestly speaking, it brought back memories of how God used to speak to me, teach me deep things that I would never imagine in my life. And even up till how many years later, I am still trying to. This is like 2018, making it 10 years, 19, 20, 21, 22, 20, 15 years later. Most of these things are coming to limelight, and so many people are now talking about them in the way and manner that God spoke to me about it. I don't really call God. I call him my father. So pardon me when I use the word daddy. Well, if you like, don't pardon me. Pardon me is a problem. He's my father. Anyways, I don't mean to be rude. Anyway, I just feel this closure with him when So let me just, if my mind can serve me correctly, serve you a little bit of what teaching he gave me, and I can categorically remember the places, the times, oh my goodness, the days, the places where I used to be when he would teach me these things. It would be alone. I was alone at those points in times, and these were really pivotal moments in my life where they transformed my life and made me a very good version of myself that I just still can't fathom where this depth of knowledge came from. Honestly speaking, I am not trying to be so I don't know what word it is to use, but it just so amazes me that he back then, when these things were occurring, I felt like I was in a classroom. I felt like I was in a classroom, an interesting classroom, such that my head was just opened up, and I was just being taught. I was being taught in such high level way that even I could not run away from understanding it. It was almost like I had so many eyes, and they were just beginning to get open. And this is just me trying to explain the feeling that I had, how it felt to be in the presence of the great teacher. It makes you Ooh, okay, let me just share the thoughts, share most of the teachings. So talking about the mind, and the Bible talks about a lot about the mind, and he refers to the mind as the central nervous system, like the CPU of the human life in general, not your body, but your life in general. We know that the heart is there, you have your whatever important or body organs, but you see, the mind actually goes a long way to change, make, destroy, or modify whoever you become or whoever you are. What I'm trying to say is everything that happens in life happens in your mind. It taught me about how most times when we, and this is me trying to be a little bit Christian. I'm not a little bit Christian, but in my podcast, I try to not be, bring God and all that. But I'm sorry, I can't excuse it. He's the center of my being, and with him I live and move and have my being. In him I move and live and have my being. So I can't excuse him from this whole conversation. So point I'm making is, he talks about the mind. There are times when you think your thoughts are controlled by your mind, and there are times when you do some things and you try to rebuke yourself. You try to rebuke yourself from doing those things, but actually they are not you. They're not you. Have you ever thought about something so bad that you asked yourself how you thought about it? And then if you traced your step backwards a bit, maybe a few seconds before, you would realize that the thought came twice. Have any of you ever noticed it? It came twice. And this is how it happens. So you have a thought saying, go and slap that boy. It won't come that way. It will say, I will slap this boy, and then your mind affirms and say, oh yes, I will slap this boy. And then you tell yourself, hey, what are you doing? But it's not you. Really, it's not you. That wasn't you. Your mind was just agreeing to the thoughts you have opened yourself up to. And that's why the Bible says, guard it diligently, so consciously. It's where the issues of life flows from. If somebody wins the battle of mind with you, you are gone. Trust me. That's why you have mind. That's why you have what they call mind games. You have manipulators. You have people who try to psychologically dismantle who you are from your mind first. Every war that you have seen that has happened in history started from the mind, and that is where your war starts from. The war of I can't do it, I can't, it's not possible, I can't do it. The war of I am unable to, the war of I am positively able to, the war of people influencing you negatively and people influencing you positively. All these battles are in your mind. That's why sometimes you have done literally nothing the whole day. You've done literally nothing and you feel exhausted. Yeah, you feel exhausted, and this has been the weapon that has been used against a lot of our sisters, because the mind tends to manipulate your emotions, and oh boy, if you allow it happen, there's going to be serious problems. It's going to be serious. A man who controls his mind is a man who will win everywhere in his life. Everywhere, he will win at every single thing in his life. So you have thoughts saying, I will break that bottle on his head, and your mind reaffirms, I will break that bottle on his head. And you'll be like, oh, where did I thought? But you see, that subtle, very tiny, irresponsible thought wasn't yours. It wasn't. It was the thoughts from the pit of hell, from not God. And it sways you, teaches you things you should do that you cannot possibly imagine. And then these things come like they are yours. Contrary to the way the enemy attacks our minds, when God speaks to us, he speaks to us like a friend. He doesn't speak to us as if it is we talking. He speaks to us as a friend. He tells us what he wants us to do and shows us. Sometimes he paints a picture, a vivid picture as to how, where, when, why, and what we should do. Sometimes he doesn't. He just lets you figure it out. And in the process of figuring it out, he drops the pictures in your head and you just feel like, I'm a genius. No. Your mind. Your mind is so diverse that I'm not able to talk about this in this podcast alone. I'm possibly going to do part 2 and maybe part 3. It's so broad that you shouldn't play with it. You shouldn't play with your mind. You shouldn't allow just anything tamper with your mind, because your mind is like a sponge. No matter how difficult a person is, no matter how hard-hearted someone is, if you are able to gain access to the person's mind, that person is gone. And that's why a lot of people put a lot of walls, they put a lot of defense systems, mechanisms, and everything, because even with all those wonderful walls and everything, everybody's mind still looks the same, like a sponge. It assimilates everything that is around its environment. So if you surround your mind with good stuff, I like one of my friends who posts very nice stuff on his status and says, fill your mind with positive things, with beautiful things. I love it, because if you fill your mind with positive and beautiful things, you don't have place for evil thoughts to thrive, because you've already saturated the mind with beauty. Have you ever wondered how you think about something so deeply that it begins to manifest? It's because the mind is a weapon. It will pull in every resource around you. And trust me, the resources that are easier to get are the bad resources. They are very easy to get. It will pull in every resource, because by the time you have told your mind gets to work and then begins to send signals, because all our minds work on certain frequencies. That's how manage you are thinking about that man, and then within few seconds the person calls you and he says, I was thinking about you. Yeah, because the both of you were on the same frequency at that moment in time. Yeah, your mind. It's so vast that I might not be able to talk about everything. So what I'm just going to do is, maybe for as long as I can, I'm just going to write down certain notes and talk about them in details, and so I can help so many of us, including myself, because this is a wake-up call and a reminder that I need to control whatever goes into my mind. Even for myself, it's a wake-up call, because Daddy has taught me these things more than 15 years ago. That's how come you see pastors who are so great and have done a lot of things and then they fall. It's not because they don't have this knowledge. It's just because it's hidden somewhere deep down in their hearts. But because they are human, there's a tendency for them to forget. And then when they forget, they fall. That's why David said, your word have I hidden in my heart, so that I will not sin against you. Have a wonderful day. I'm going to bring back part 2, part 3, and as much as I can to deal with this thing in depth. Enjoy your day. God loves you.